All right, guys, you got to be able to recognize controlled opposition. This young lady, what's her name? Melanie King, is a perfect example of controlled opposition. She sounds like she's on your side, but she'll give it away from time to time. So we're going to listen to her video and you'll see where the chinks in the armor are.
Swipe? A very new controversial study shows that the number of Americans who found a partner through an online website or a dating app has increased significantly since 1980 from 0 to over 50%, while other avenues of meeting someone like through friends and family, work, school, in your neighborhood, or at a bar has declined. So, Amber, what do you think is the best way to meet someone these days? Is it through an algorithm that considers a lot of data points and personal preferences tailored for you, designed to give you a perfect person what you want? Or do you think we have to go back to the older traditional ways?
Yeah, I'm sure you can probably guess where I'm going to go with this, but let me just start by saying I did meet my husband on a dating app, so I'm going to sound like a total hypocrite, but I think
She's not going to sound she is a hypocrite. I'm going to be responding to these two as well as her. Okay, guys? This woman's a total hypocrite because women aren't really interested in being with men. If they were, you would need a dating app. They wouldn't be going online at all. There's all kinds of men that throw, this is a very beautiful girl too, right? This young woman. Guys are throwing themselves at her. So the fact that they're using dating apps means they're not interested. Okay?
generally speaking, it's better to meet someone in person. And the problem that I have with dating apps is I think they really dehumanize the experience and leave.
Yet she chose the dehumanizing experience. You know why? Because it's dehumanizing to us guys, not her. Women are not choosing that path. If they were suffering, they wouldn't go down that route. What you see here is, like I say, my man Pink and Yellow say, women love the sadism of using the dating apps or even finding men online. They waste men's time, right? They've got all the power.
To these very impersonal interactions that lead people to feel like the person on the other end of the screen is disposable. There's so many options on dating apps. I probably went on 100+ dates before I met my husband over the past 5-10 years. And I think
so. She rejected all those guys. So I'm going to be saying this over and over again because it has to be hammered home. Women don't like men. You guys know that if a woman pays attention to you and you're attracted to her at all, she's a keeper to you, right? So it just proves my point over and over again.
people, because they have so many options, end up always looking for that next best thing. And I think it's important to remember that love is.
When she says people, she means women, right? I know what I'm talking about this woman eventually, but really need to respond to these ones too. They use gender neutral terms to hide the fact that this is women's behavior.
It's not just some algorithmic a decision beyond your control. It's not a case where if I have exactly the right things in common with somebody that we're going to fall in love. Love in a lot of ways is very much a conscious decision and a choice that you make every day to
see what this is what love is to women. To us guys, love is something that happens to you. She's saying it's a decision. That tells you that this woman is not romantic, that she's not in love.
Work with somebody and be with somebody and put in the dedication to making that relationship work. And dating apps promise to give you your so-called soulmate or perfect match. But until you actually meet someone in,
they're promising it to guys. These women know exactly what the dating apps are. So when they get on them, they're not ticked off with them. They get on them because they use them to gain male attention, enjoy rejecting men and wasting their time.
Person and see how you're able to communicate. I don't think that those things matter quite as much.
Hey guys, it's your girl Melanie, and I came across this discussion on the Hills channel on YouTube, and I thought it was interesting because I wanted to hear what two like youngish kind of women had to say about this, and what points they would try to bring out.
Now, she is going to say a lot of truth, but again, we're going to hear Melanie out. I'll point out when she lets the masks slip.
This is difficult because what they say that people they treat that people in general treat people as disposable, as something that they want to go on to the next best thing. And this is where I see it framed, especially when women are talking about the problem with dating apps. They will point to how people are treated as disposable. What they mean is men treat women as they're disposable. They also mean that, the other excuse that I hear, I haven't watched this whole thing.
She's a bit off here. It's not that they mean that women are disposable. They push the false idea that women are being treated as disposable. These women know for a fact that they aren't delusional. They know that they're the ones rejecting men and using men on the dating apps. But because they enjoy the sadism of gaslighting, that's what they're doing. They're gaslighting.
I'm reacting in real time. The other thing that they try to say is that, there's no good men left. Men only want sex on dating apps, and that's what they're looking for. And that they don't treat these women with respect or really care. They're not really looking for love. And I don't know if they're going to say that, but that is absolutely not true.
That's true. She's right. It's actually projecting female traits onto men.
A lot of these women come from the standpoint, it's almost like a Disney fantasy. It's just like, well, love is this way and love is that way. And
Okay, this is where she's getting it wrong. These women are not approaching it as a Disney fantasy. They're not really they are looking for high status men, but they're not looking for love. These women they're not capable of loving men, and they're not looking for it. That's where Melanie is getting it wrong, and she might be getting it wrong on purpose.
and it's, you can't treat people as disposable when the majority of people that are treating other people as disposable are women. Women are treating men as disposable.
Absolutely right. And this is how Miss King here will draw you in, right? Because she is saying truth, but every once in a while, she'll fall down.
We have seen from the data that women are choosing the top, people say 20%, but really the data boils down to about 10%, where 100% of the women want the top 10 Chads and Tyrones.
There you go. The very first chink in the armor. She's found out that she's listened to what men say and complain and use that. But these women aren't for Chad and Tyrone. They're looking for high status men. First, you have to define what high status is. It's wealth and or fame. This Tyrone, this Chad, this guy who's chosen because he's tall and good looking, that is a deflection. Women like tall men because they want them as attack dogs against other men, right? But their main focus is what? Status. And this, I'm going to prove to you, right? Here's Joe Pesci with Naomi Campbell. He's not tall. He's not good looking. He's not Tyrone. He's famous and he has wealth. And not only is he with her, but here's another hottie he's with. And both these women are taller than him, right? And he's older than them, and he's never been a good looking guy. Okay. Well, look, there's another hottie, or maybe that's the same one. But the point is, that's the first priority. So when she talks about Tyrone and Chad, she is actually putting on a mask. She's found out what men say and she's repeating it.
And they ignore the vast number of men that are on dating apps. That's the real problem. It's women who are shallow. It's women who are hypergamous. It's women who have all these options. The average and even above average man does not have all these options they're just throwing away.
Yeah, she's absolutely right about this. Exactly. The men don't have the option. But the one thing they'll always miss out, the reason why men don't have options is because women aren't interested in men. That's the one thing that no one except from us guys from the PMC will say.
Man is lucky if he gets a couple of matches on a dating app throughout the years. Especially if he's under 6 feet, especially if he doesn't have that chiseled jawline or that aesthetic, that trophy husband look that most.
Okay, again, I just want to point out. See, I don't know, he doesn't have the worst jaw in the world, but I wouldn't call it chiseled. She's pushing a false narrative.
Women want. And this is why these discussions are not honest, they're disingenuous, and they're not going to solve anything because women refuse to take accountability for their behavior that has destroyed dating.
Okay, that's the next chink in the armor. The women don't take accountability. That's something men say. Women take full accountability. What these women are doing is engaging in the behavior they want to. They want things this way. If you understand that. Women aren't, if they're not held accountable by men in the first place. They're enabled by men. Okay, so they're not really avoiding accountability. They're not held accountable in the first place.
Their behavior that makes dating apps untenable. Their behavior and their mindsets, a very feminist mindset. I deserve the best. All women are 10s. And
see, there's the third chink in the armor. She's trying to say these women are feminists, and that's why they behave the way they do. But we all know that feminism comes from women. This is just how women behave. So she's trying to say there's these bad, some outside force made these women behave this way, and not all of us are like that. So that's the mask slipping.
And all women deserve love. They do not say all men deserve love. They do not say all men are 10s. So when they come from this standpoint, let's keep it real.
When they say love, they mean worship. All women deserve worship from men because they do not see us as equals.
Keep it a buck. These women are ignoring the vast majority of men and they move on to the next thing. Even if they're talking to a guy that they, decide to give a chance. If Chad hits them up, if Chad matches with them, they think, well, why would I want to match with this guy that's really on their level, physically, most likely? They say, well, if he wants me, that's where my real status is. That's what I really deserve, not this average kind of guy. And then they wonder why things aren't working.
See, this is the fourth chink. Things are working, Melanie King. Things are working. This is exactly what women want. If they weren't getting what they wanted from dating apps, they wouldn't go there at all. These women are getting what they want. They get to get on there, again, get attention from men, enjoy rejecting them. And these women, they got boyfriends, right? So they get everything. So she's trying to play it like these women are stupid and they're not getting what they want. This is a woman, she knows exactly what these women want. She wants the same thing. And so she is now lying to you guys.
And a lot of the men who are on the dating apps, the reason why they say they just want sex is because, yes, that's what Chad and Tyrone want from you because you give it.
Okay, so the good-looking guys just want sex. but the average guy wants something more. See what I'm doing? See what she's doing there? See what I'm pointing out? She's finding a group of men that other men are jealous of and saying, yeah, they're the bad guys, but you're the good guys.
Give it away for free. You want
Hold it. That was important. Chick in the armor, number 5. I want to hear that again.
the reason why they say they just want sex is because, yes, that's what Chad and Tyrone want from you, because you give it away for free.
So she says women giving it away for free is bad. So her idea of good is prostitution. When you sleep with a man, you want to get paid. That's good. She let that slip out.
You want the average man to jump through hoops, wine and dine, you do all this stuff, but you participate in hookup culture when it's Chad and Tyrone. You'll Netflix and chill. He doesn't even have to give you good conversation. You'll come over on the first night, or he'll let him come over. He'll just, hang.
Well, the girls, they're not interested in good conversation because Melanie, they're not interested in guys. You're not interested in guys. You're not interested in our inner minds or our lives, right? That old, gaslighting, love me for your mind, that women used to say to men, that's projecting. Again, they're projecting their mindset onto men. These guys are calling Chad Tyrone, they're not getting girlfriends unless they have status. They're not getting long-term relationships. They might get a one-night stand. So Chad and Tyrone, they don't really exist anyway, but these guys that are good looking enough to get the odd one-night stand, they're not getting girlfriends. Okay, so they're not getting what they want.
Out with you, and you're ready to give up everything to him, but you want to make the next man work.
Hold it. Give up everything to him. So just having sex is giving up everything. So this woman is pushing the idea that virginity is really valuable, that women's sex is really, really valuable. And it's not something that you share with a man. It's something that you give to a man or he pays for. Do you see how she's inadvertently showing her hand?
Harder. Why? Because he doesn't make you tingle. He's not a trophy man. There used to be a time when men wanted trophy wives, rich men, but now the average and below average woman thinks they deserve a trophy husband, a trophy man.
Men still get trophy wives. Matter of fact, the average guy who's married has a trophy wife. She said yes. Okay?
Man, I said this before, that women are looking for a fantasy, and they actually believe the fantasy can come true.
Okay, see, she's pushing a false narrative. They're not looking for a fantasy. They're looking for a high status man who they can leech off of. And these two women, by the way, will admit that they did.
And then when it doesn't, they want to turn around and blame men for the issues. But I could be jumping to conclusions, so let's continue.
So, obviously, I've made it clear where I stand by waiting the 4th response in that tweet that has apparently been very controversial, but I welcome hearing people's opinions on this. I find it fascinating, but I think we spend so much of our social time online, and when I wrote that, I didn't actually mean on like a website dedicated for dating or even a dating app. I guess, like, would you consider it through friends of friends if you meet someone via Instagram? Like you see them in a video or in a picture or on TikTok on your For You feed, on Twitter. I met my current boyfriend through Twitter.
There you go. These women are still meeting guys online. This woman is surrounded by men. We're all surrounded by each other. So the men that's in her lives, she's not interested in. So they're not high enough status. So why is she talking about Twitter? Because the dating apps have the losers on it, the men of low status, the one that women aren't interested in. These guys are desperate, and that's why they're on the dating app. So where's she meeting them? On Twitter. That's where the higher status man might be found on Twitter or some other platform, right?
Because we're interested in the same kind of economics. And I came up on his.
They go. They're interested in the same kind of economics. In other words, he has enough money. He comes from a wealthy family, or he has wealth, or he has connections. That's what she means.
His feed because professors that he follow were liking a post where I was promoting
Professors he follows. The guy's probably in university. So she's looking at him and say the man has earning potential if he isn't already earning it. Right. So this woman, young lady, is not in love with the man she's talking about. She's just using him.
promoting my new podcast and Stephanie Kelton's book, The
Which is standard, by the way.
Deficit Myth. That's how we met, was through a tweet. And so I think there are innocent ways you can meet someone online. I don't want to say innocent. There are organic ways you can meet someone online.
So see how when it works for them, they have to rephrase it. They have to say that meeting online is organic, which of course it isn't. Organic means good to people. So she's saying, I met this high status man on Twitter, so it's organic. But the low status bums on the dating apps, that isn't organic. That's fake, right?
Without intentionally being there to date. I'm like the worst online dater. I've had the apps. I think I've gone on 1 or 2 dates ever from it.
When she says worst dater, in other words, she goes on the apps and all the men are losers. They're all low status. That's what she's saying.
An app. So I'm critical of the dating app culture. I think the next best thing phenomena is a huge problem with modern.
Huge problem with modern dating. There's no difference between modern dating and dating in the past because the women's behavior is the same. Meeting you in person or online, it's the exact same behavior, right? They love wasting your time. They're going to sniff out your status and they're going to reject you if your status is low. It doesn't matter. Remember, online is just a tool, right? It doesn't alter these women's behavior.
Dating. But I also think that meeting someone online is okay and can happen organically, but not be on an intentional dating website.
There's definitely an important distinction to be made there. You're exactly right. And I know plenty of people who have also met their significant others that they are now married to on Twitter. I have dated people from Twitter.
Well, there you go. So look, all these women who found a high status man online. Exactly.
And it's definitely a more organic experience than what happens on a dating app, to be sure. I think the proliferation of dating apps, as we see a decline.
And she's lying, of course. It's not more organic. These women have the exact same expectation of the men. They're looking for the exact same thing from men, whether it's on Twitter or Tinder.
In young people either having sex or having relationships should have us asking questions about whether these things are doing their intended purpose. And we also have to remember too that it is not in the interest of the company that owns these apps for you to delete them and not be on them. They say, for example, on Hinge, that it's the dating app meant to be deleted. But if everyone who was on Hinge found a partner and deleted the app, obviously they wouldn't be making any money. And
well, these dating apps are scamming the guys, not the women. The men are delusional, everyone. And when they go into dating apps, they're the marks. These women know exactly what the dating apps are. They know how to work them in their favor. They are not fooled. Men are the victims. These women are the perpetrators.
There has been some studies that show that these apps don't show you exactly what your perfect match would be per se, but what they think you want to see. It's kind of the equivalent to how.
Actually, no, these apps do give women what they want because some of these apps actually show what the man's earning potential is, or not potential, what he's earning. Some of these dating apps will say to a man, how much do you make? So they're showing these women exactly what they want. It's the men that get used.
When I'm on Instagram, I keep getting videos of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce going out to dinner in New York City. And I don't actually want this content, but for some reason I feel myself being drawn to it all the time. And I wish Instagram would stop showing it to me, but yet I always click on it. And I think,
okay, then it's showing you exactly what you want then. It's not fooling you. It's giving you something that you click on purposely. So these women, of course, are blaming, the tools that they use for their own behavior, right? And why is she interested in these people? Because they're Taylor Swift and her man are high status, right? Same old, same old.
I think that's kind of a similar phenomenon to how people behave on dating apps.
Again, they keep talking about people. It is women that are driving dating apps. It is women that are that 90% of the men on dating apps are being ignored.
Now she's getting it right again. And this is how she reels the guy in, guys. She actually is putting the blame where it belongs to these women, right? But as I've demonstrated several times now, this woman is really just reeling you in. She's pretending she's on your side.
Completely. No, I agree with what they said there, which she met her current boyfriend on Twitter, a place where you can have common interests, and really Twitter, I mean, there are photos on Twitter, but for the most part,
So there's another one. What's this, chink number 6 or 7 by now? Common interest. That is a sales pitch to men. Women and men have nothing in common. We have very different interests. So there's not going to be common interest.
it's it's like-mindedness. It's things in common. You're able to actually meet on commonalities, and they do find, or I do find, that is an easier road in terms of connecting with someone versus being on a dating app where you're just swiping and swiping and swiping. If someone
Well, Melanie, I mean, you admit that the women are ignoring these men, so they're not looking for a connection with them. You admit that they'll do a one-night stand with the good-looking guys. So you are pushing a false narrative.
catches your attention on Twitter because something witty they said, or you guys share similar interests, that is a better way. And I've said this before in videos, that I think common interests, niche groups, niche interactions, those are the things that are more likely to lead to a relationship.
When she says niche, I'm going to translate. What she means is that you are from an exclusive group. You are a person who, let's say, you're a man, I should say, who has connections with other men, other wealthy men. You belong to a group, such as maybe you're into golf or tennis, like you have the high-end sports, right? Other well-to-do people. That's what she's saying when she says niche, right? You're a celebrity. That's a niche. So Melanie here, she is, of course, coding what she means, right? That's what women always do.
Those are the things that are more likely where women will feel a connection with a man versus on a dating app where, let's be honest, it's about what you look like. So I do think that's an arena where men can win more. I don't have the studies on that. I don't have any data to prove that.
Winning. So just actually getting with a woman who supposedly loves you is winning, right?
But just her anecdotal kind of evidence of what she said, I think that is true. Now, again, we don't know if her boyfriend, even if she connected with someone on a dating app, a man on not a dating app, on Twitter, and then he's average looking, he's below 6 feet. I don't know what her man looks like. Would she?
The thing is, she's only texting on Twitter. So she doesn't know what the man sounds like. She doesn't know, she hasn't engaged with him on a personal level at all. She's only looking for for his status, right? That's what it is. So what is it's a resume. Whether it's the Tinder app or the Twitter, it's a resume. A woman is looking for a male servant of high status. That's what's going on here. That's why she was able to connect, right?
She still feel that same connection, or will he just end up friend zoned, which a lot of men are. They like him, they connect with that man, they think he's nice, they think he's great, but they don't feel the chemistry. They don't.
Actually, all that's untrue. See, she doesn't like it. When she says like, I'm going to translate, she doesn't hate. She might find you pleasant, but she doesn't actually like you. A woman who likes a man would never waste his time like these women do. Friend zoning them is wasting a man's time. This shows you great dislike, and this happens to the average guy by the average woman. So it just keeps reinforcing what I've been saying. Women don't like men.
Don't feel like he's the one. They don't feel like there's a sexual, energy. And I've got to be attracted to the guy, right? And it's not that they can't find attraction with that guy, but again, the fantasy is always going to be more attractive. The fantasy is always going to be more appetizing.
Again, see how she's framing it. She's saying these women are delusional. They're not. They're not having fantasies. They're actually hunting. They're fishing. They're checking the guys out. They're checking out their resume. That's why these women met their men online. That's why they didn't meet them in person, because it wasn't necessary. You don't need to meet a man in person to find out how much money he makes or who he knows or what his job is.
Than anything else. And so we've got to be honest about these conversations. We've got to stop talking about people, and we've got to segment out men versus women. And then within that, for the men, we've got to separate the majority of men versus Chad and Tyrone.
Yeah, I want to stop dating guys like this, but I keep swiping right on them. Why is this happening?
What she said, I keep swiping right on the same type of guys. Again, it's Chad and Tyrone.
No, it's high status man, because she doesn't give a shit about the man's personality or what he actually cares about or what he thinks about. Women are not choosing men for their humanity. So that's why why do you think she says it with that big smug grin on her face? She's not unhappy for her choices. She goes for the high status men, and whether they're a good guy or bad guy, she finds out later.
The guys, the bad boys, the guys who look good, the arm candy guy, the guy that's hot that gets them single. Women say that men just want to hook up, but women choose men based on their sexual attraction to a man. The other marker is if
See, this woman, Melanie, she is pandering to her male audience. This is what men delusionally think, and so she's repeating it. She's a woman. She knows what these women are thinking. That has nothing to do with Chad or Tyrone.
if a man seems like he has money or clout,
There you go. Does he have money or clout? Now she's getting it right.
cause them to swipe right because he could be a good provider. Even if he doesn't look like Chad or Tyrone, that signals that, well, at least I can get something out of it. And so it has to be a strong benefit for them. They don't read the bios and say, oh, this guy is smart or he's caring or he's interesting.
You're incorrect, Melanie. They do read the bios. They read what he does for a living and who he knows, what groups he's affiliated with.
That's not there. Most women are actually, they say men want sex, but they're the ones that behave in that way. They're the ones giving away sex for free. They're the ones that are choosing these men that hurt them, that have no intention to be.
Oh, there's chink number 8, right? They're choosing these men that hurt them. right? So that she's saying these women make the wrong choices. They should pick a nice guy like you. No, these women pick a man of high status and they hang with him until they get bored of him. And then they dump him. And then they gaslight and say that he was a bad guy. See, this is how you have to see it. And you can see that Melanie here will never admit that.
Anything to them other than a fun time, a hookup. And then they wonder why they keep getting the same results. But it's never their problem. It's the
Again, they're not wondering whether they're getting the same results. They want these results. They're getting the results they want. These women, the women do the humping and dumping, right? But their humping isn't necessarily sex with the man. It's getting together with them, clamping them in marriage, and then divorcing them. So that's what's being missed out here.
men. It's the quality of men that are out there that's the problem. There's no good men left, guys. There's none of you are good. You're certainly not good enough for them.
I think you're right. They always advertise like designed to be deleted. But are you really? Would you still make money if that was the case? It's a good point. They could be giving us duds on purpose on those apps. So just
Okay, so she's trying to suggest that the apps are giving dubs to women. No, because it's not these women who suffer again, guys. It's the men. The men keep coming back, and they're the ones who are paying and making these apps worthwhile, right? These women know what's going on.
scroll Twitter, guys. Just
They promote the men that women swipe right the most on because that keeps women on the apps. That gives women hope that they can get Chad and Tyrone. So
She's misframing it again. She's trying to make it like the women who are the perpetrators are the victims. They aren't. It's the men who are getting scammed.
yes, the dating apps are designed that way, but if women did not behave in a certain way, if women weren't swiping right on just these very tiny percentage of men, then the dating apps would change. It's run by an algorithm. They would change and tweak the algorithm to
Exactly. So everything that's going on in these dating apps is exactly what these women want. These women are not delusional. They're not missing out. Exactly. You know, they're not victims of anything.
promote guys of more
And
quality.
by the way, we all know that in these dating apps, the vast majority of them, of the people on them, are guys. And there's probably fake female profiles out in there, women who don't actually exist to keep the guys there. It's a scam on men.
But again, women are not looking for quality. They're looking for arm candy.
find someone on your For You feed. Obviously, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are taken, but there are many other options on your feed that you will find. I also like that you say, I've dated people from Twitter before, as if they're just always a Twitter person when you meet them there. But I think the reason we've seen an increase in dating online since 1980 is because that is when the internet was created. I don't know if it's that people prefer the internet or right now we're so obsessed with being social on the internet and using social media that's why we've seen it skyrocket. Maybe we'll see it plateau as excitement around being social on the internet, using social media declines. Maybe we're in a flux period right now.
Everybody's online, guys. These women are perpetually online. You know that. So whenever you complain and someone says, get off the internet, they are not leaving the internet. I just want you to realize that.
Now, and slowly, as all of our platforms are
None of this is going to change, is what I'm saying, because the platforms do for these women what they did in real life, face to face, let's say, right? It's the exact same behavior.
moving towards less personal networks and more towards, media content from someone you've never met, or it's getting commercialized and you're getting pushed a lot of ads and shopping. I think people are getting tired of that kind of content on social media and may pull back and may meet people more in person again. I don't know. But the internet.
No, they won't, because you know what? Because these women aren't looking for a personal connection with a man. Women don't like us. I'm going to say that over and over again. Women always approach a man as an employer approaching a potential employee. She's looking at your resume. These women are never personal with men. So the apps are going to stay and they're going to ramp up. It's just that they're finding Twitter is a better app than the official dating app.
It hasn't always been a factor. It became a factor in 1980, so I don't want to confuse correlation with causation.
Why are men, women, it's like, it's something wrong with what the media companies are doing, the social media companies are doing. There's something wrong with what the dating apps are doing. They are doing what people want. They're not doing these things just to, yes, they can force things down your throat, but people respond to it. It works for them. So
this Melanie's got it right, and this is how she reels you in. She's calling these women out on their behavior.
that's why they're doing it. And it's like this, it's always this external blame instead of taking personal accountability of your behavior online. And why is this happening? It's like the question is and usually with women, it's like they try to say it's not anything I'm doing. It's not my fault. It's the media companies. It's the dating app companies. It's men's fault. There's no personal accountability as to why these things are being promoted and pushed. And
again, she's doing the personal accountability. I never say that shit. These women are completely accountable. They're not delusional. They've got everything they want from life. Everything that's going on is the way they want it. I'll say that they're gaslighting a guy, but I won't say they're not being accountable. They don't need to be accountable. They're not held to account anyway, right? You guys can't hold them in account anyway. If all these guys who these women don't want stop using the dating app, it wouldn't hurt them any, right? So.
And done. It's like they don't go any layer deeper other than blame, blame, blame. And see, and this is what keeps us in this cycle, and this is what keeps things stuck.
No. See what I mean, guys? She's pretending that this is a cycle of what do you call it? I gotta think of the right word. Failure for the women. It's a cycle of failure for the men, but not for the women. This is how she is not getting it right. Whether she's conscious of it or not, I mean, she's definitely a scam artist, because this is a cycle that women desire, including herself. It's this way because the women want it this way.
But it boils down to women don't want to be honest to other women about what they're doing and why they're getting the results that they're getting. And it's only women complaining about the dating apps. It's only women complaining about these things. Men, instead of just dealing with it, yes, they feel a certain way, but they're just walking away. They'd rather not deal with women at all. That's how.
She's pushing the MGTOW narrative, which is a false narrative. It's a posturing narrative to protect men's egos. That's how she's reeling us in, guys, right? Men aren't walking away from anything. Women are simply rejecting us. And if men want to have a better life, we got to get rid of the delusion and the ego protection and actually admit what's going on. So this woman is scamming men by saying this.
How bad it is. But I have never seen any woman actually address that issue.
Here in the data.
Yeah, I do feel like the recent spike that we see on that graph is probably a side effect of the fact that people just don't engage in their community as much. Social media tends to be sort of the meeting place for people. I mean, people don't go to.
She's actually wrong. Women engage in their communities all the time. Their community is each other. You think this young lady or the other one talking don't have girlfriends, which they get together at the bars or the restaurants or at the cafes or family gatherings? Of course they do. They have a community. It just bars men. And that's what the dating apps, that's why they love it. And Twitter, it keeps us at a distance. The people they don't want to deal with at all.
To churches often, they don't go to community centers for whatever reason. I mean, people really did used to go to bowling alleys and bingo and all of these little small town events to meet up with their friends or meet up with family friends. And I think one of the underrated reasons why it is good to meet people through friends or through family is that you can kind of filter out who might not share the same values as you. And you also have
Translation, not values. Filter out the low status man. Your girlfriend wants to, she found this man who's high status and she wants to hook you up with him for your benefit, not his. That's what she's saying. That's what this is translating into.
have a rating on that person's potential safety. Obviously not a fail-safe, but there have been
See, these women, will she call her out on it? These women are painting men as dangerous. But what the translation is the danger is that you might be hooked up with a guy who's low status, who's a nobody, who's a nobody without any money. That's what the danger is, right? And only someone who dislikes you would do this to you and talk like this to you or about you.
been some situations of friends of mine who have gone out on online dates and have found themselves in some pretty unsafe situations. So the safety aspect of this cannot be ignored as well.
See, and this is what they tie to. And this is, understand what's being said here. My friends of mine who have been in unsafe situations, she's talking about women friends who have been unsafe because of the men on dating apps. First of all, the Chad and Tyrone on dating apps. And now, again, it's pushing, you got to start listening really with your ears wide open. Basically saying that men are dangerous on dating apps. Again, that trope that all these men are dangerous and it's scary out there, as though meeting a stranger on the street can't be dangerous. But it's always pointed towards where, men are these dangerous ones. When women do some of the most deranged things on earth, men are constantly accused of DV. Men are falsely accused of it. Men are falsely accused of SA. Men are falsely accused of everything, and they don't talk about the fear that men have dealing with a crazy woman who's going to key their car.
Now, this is chink number 8 or 9. Crazy woman. These women aren't crazy. The men call women crazy because they're always surprised. She was really nice to me, and then she did a 180. She never did a 180. She always hated your guts. She always was disinterested in you as a human being. She never cared about you. And as soon as you do something she doesn't like, then she gets violent and aggressive. So Melanie here isn't, again, admitting what's really going on here. So whenever a woman shows bad behavior, people call her crazy because it's like saying a sane woman is a good person by dint of being a woman, right? The word evil doesn't come up. Now, I think I've shown enough of this. I won't bother with the last 10 minutes. Melanie here, Melanie King, she is scamming the men who come to her. She's finding a niche. She's saying, I'm one of the good ones. I'm on your side. But there's all kinds of slips of the mask that let you know that she is no different than the women talking here. Okay, thank you.